My name is Violeta Sofia. I am a photographer, I am an artist, and I am an activist. The project that I put forward that won was the project about representation of females in all spaces. Sometimes you look at the media and you see certain groups are always doing the same thing. But as a female, as a black person, I would like to see what other black people are doing other than maybe singing and doing sports. I hate the term black excellence. But what about if I'm a mother? I have 10 kids, single mother, am I black excellence? What about if I'm not strong? What about if I want to cry? So it was just the definition of what makes someone black excellence. And I just felt that it created a lot of pressure on being a black person and being excellent all the time. And it deprived young people from being themselves. So if, for example, if the pictures are exhibiting somewhere, I want people to see and think, oh, I could become that. I could be a judge, I could be a Royal Navy captain, I could be a scientist, regardless of my color or regardless of what I see in the media. I enjoy a Canon. At the moment, I'm using an R5. My favorite lens is a 24-70. It allows me to move with my subject. And recently, I've discovered the 100mm. The Handmasters started, so I started getting vitiligo when I was 19, but it didn't really show until I was about 30. And then at some point, before my hands became completely white, they were quite patchy. And I couldn't see my hands, and my hands were one of the areas that I liked the most about my body. And then when my hands became completely white, I was able to see them again. I was able to love them again. And then, because especially with vitiligo, what I find really difficult is not having it, but it's changing. Every time you accept yourself, it changes again, and you're like, oh. So you're always like, I love myself, it's changing, I love myself. So I thought I really love my hands at this point. Let me record them, let me turn them into something beautiful. And even though it didn't have a lot of artistic meaning behind it at the beginning, it has grown with me. It has, I have added more layers into it, and now it's become like a full piece that I would still like to tell more about myself with it. When I read about the 70, 15, 40, it's something that I knew, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. But you can clearly see it because you go to university. I went to university. Most of the people are women. And then you go into talks, and the people that go to talks to learn about other photographers is women. And then what is happening in the middle? Why are these women not getting the jobs? It's just, they're there. Is it that we need to hustle more? Is it that, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, that is, that's what I do things. I just want change, I want change. I mean, it's a headache, wanting change, and I feel like you carry a lot trying to create change, but it's the only thing that moves me.
My name is Paloma Tendero, and I am one of the winners from 17, 15, 40 Project UK. The reason why I applied is because it was a woman-focused project and award, but also after being in the industry for quite a while, like I graduated from MA photography in 2015, I noticed that I always funded my own projects, like for several years, I mean for all my life really. Like I didn't really have the support from the industry, like I kept like making the projects. I started this project in like 2020, but I was waiting to see if I will win any kind of like grant or support to see if the project could develop, and it did. So that was really like a sign from the universe, I would say. And it comes from like personal experiences, it comes from like witnesses, others dealing with like health and illness, and my own health and illness. So I often have like a very kind of like physical responses to those. So I make sculptural pieces that I end up photographing by wearing them. So I will say that it takes quite a long time for me to build those wearable pieces until I then make the shoot. So the one here, Float Beauty. So the idea behind is that I am on a plinth, like a classical sculpture, and when you go to the British Museum and you see all of these sculptures that they are broken, missing limbs, but it's still very highly appreciated in society, you realize that the concept of the perfect body and in juxtaposition with illness, if I put illness into the idea of perfect body, then the illness becomes beautiful. Like I work a lot in dualities, from inside out, horror and beauty. And I think that is kind of like how this work came to be between health and illness. It's very cathartic. I will say that, I found that making the pieces is really something that it comes from within me, like it comes from inside, and I had to make them. But then it's kind of like the final cathartic moment is when I shoot. The moment I take the camera and I put myself in front of the camera with the backdrop, with all of the objects, and I start interacting with them and playing around, that for me is the moment where I'm like, I made it.
My name is Roman. I'm a lens-based artist. I work mainly in photography. I use moving image and sound in my work a lot as well. I only work in analog, I don't shoot on film. The competition being specifically for women and non-binary trans people, I thought it was a really good opportunity to highlight the issues around that and the lack of female and trans and non-binary representation in photography. And the reason I did photography was because it was a way of representing my community. Okay, so this is a Hasselblad 500 cm. It's a 1984 model. And it's just this kind of standard 90mm lens. Really, when you look through the viewfinder, I get my participants to look through the viewfinder at me, and they're like, wow. And that kind of gives them an idea of what we're doing. And it's very easy to look through a Hasselblad viewfinder and just fall in love with what you're seeing. I thought, well, what about like women's football? Because obviously the women's game is on the rise, but I thought, well, what about community? What's going on in the community? And then as soon as I got here and saw all of these banners and, I saw the politics of the club, I knew then I need to work with this club. When I look at corporate football, I'm seeing predominantly, they're predominantly like white women, they're all the same body shape. It's wonderful. I'm not criticising that, but it's a little bit, and the images, there's a certain type of a football image and they're quite airbrushed. And I thought, you know what, I want to throw a little bit of grit into this, and I want to show people how they actually are after a game. So I predominantly photograph people after they've played, and they look like they're not with their hair out, they're with the headband on, the hair's up, the ponytails on. They're not in a way that they would normally present themselves. So, and because they've been physical for an hour and a half, they're very much in their bodies, and I really, really like that grounded look in my work. So I really kind of wanted to use my work to promote the politics behind the club and promote the voices, people that are trying to make the change, a real change in how women are treated in the game, and obviously how people are treated in the game is a reflection of how people are treated everywhere in society. It's really less about me and more about, well, what can I bring attention to? you know, what can I be a part of bringing attention to here?
Hi, my name is Hanna Ali and I am a motherhood specialist photographer, and my project is called The Birth of a Mother and it focuses on Black motherhood. I remember seeing the competition and I honestly didn't think I was going to win, but I knew that I had a desire to showcase Black motherhood. As I got into the industry as a professional photographer, I realized that very few of my clients were actually Black women, and very few photographers in this country that focus on newborn and maternity are actually Black in general. And so I found it to be a space that was not very inclusive. And I thought that this project would give me the opportunity to highlight a different side of Black motherhood that's not necessarily documentary based or gritty or very sort of hardline, but instead focuses on their softness and vulnerability and beauty. It's about connecting with people, and then comes the photography. So I think it's really important for people to realize that it's not just me kind of showing up and taking photos and like taking from them and then walking away, but it's very much a relationship of me getting to know them and then forming a relationship so that when I do take their photos, it feels more organic and they're more relaxed and it doesn't feel forced. And what I'm hoping is going to happen is that I get to show Black women how beautiful they are and that they also deserve to be seen in a soft way. I think softness is not something that's very much linked with Black women in photography. I have a Canon R5 and I use the 24-70 lens, which is my workhorse, because it gives me that variety that I need, whether it's close-ups or wide angle. That's been my go-to. I think just the idea of having beautiful images of Black women who are also mothers showcased in an exhibition in London just feels really powerful and amazing. And I super look forward to the entire visual aesthetic of that. I think it's going to be lush.